Okay, good afternoon. Thank you everyone for attending today's presentation from Classroom to Careers. My name is Tyree Barnett. I'm from the Career and Employment Service here at Macquarie University. Joining me is my colleague Sue Wallace. Sue will be leading the panel as well today. She's also a careers advisor at Macquarie. So I just want to start with the acknowledgement of country. I acknowledge the traditional owners of Macquarie University land, the Willamette clan of the Dura Nation. We pay respects to the elders and knowledge holders who have and continue to share their wisdom and knowledge, nurturing and sustaining our environments, cultures, and education. I'd also like to pay my respects and extend my welcome to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander students watching today or in person. Here's our agenda. So our agenda, we're going to have first a welcome by our Employability and Graduate Success Manager, and then an introduction of our panel, a bit of Q&A. We're going to introduce briefly our career and student employment success team, and then talk about resources as well as upcoming events going into Employable You. And just as a, so I think there's a picture in that, just as a bit of introduction, we're going to have a welcome by our Director of Employability and Graduate Success, Kylie, Ebert. I'm going to hand you the mic. You can sit here, that way you're standing here with you captured on.
Thanks, Tyree. Yeah, that's a career limiting move right there, Tyree. I'd ask Tyree, take that photo down, please. So, yeah, you can see how I've got it for great stuff. Look, I'm really happy to be here today, and this is the start of our Employable You series. So at Macquarie, we have an amazing array of things for students to engage in. What we're really committed to doing is mixing it up and trying different things, okay? So that you stay engaged, you get engaged, because you need to take responsibility for your career and employability along the way. It actually has already started. And the people who are doing this today and those online are doing fabulously well to engage. My view of employability and job readiness is like building up a fitness muscle. You need to keep training, you need to try different things, you need to approach it from different angles, and it will take you time. But when you invest, you will get the returns on that and land that dream job that you're hoping for as you leave. There's so much on offer here at Macquarie, as I said, and the team will bring you that today as well as in coming weeks. We've got the prizes and the draws to keep you engaged, as well as our fabulous speakers. So I'm not going to go on any longer, Tyree. We're going to cut to the chase and hear from our fabulous speakers today. But thanks to everyone for joining us and launching with us this week, the Employable You series. Thank you.
Thanks, Nala. Thank you for your time. Great, and just as a heads up, the session is being recorded via Zoom for students that cannot attend today, as well as for students that want to review it later. So the important part to remember throughout the Employable You series is that your career starts now. So your career journey starts really from day one at Macquarie University. So you want to use your time here to gain skills that employers want by getting involved on campus. As a panel here, we'll talk about the benefits of. As well as enhancing your studies and enhancing your employable skills. Start early, so start from day one. It's never too early to get involved, to start expanding your experience, exploring your career options, and trying out different things to improve your career knowledge as well. And then finally, you'll be able to expand upon your professional network, as well as meet your potential future employer if you get involved early. We'll have heaps of different activities, both within and outside of Employable You, to get involved on campus or virtually at a time of your convenience. So you do want to take full advantage of these opportunities to start early and start strong. So again, your time here this week will be assisting with you developing these sets of employable skills here that really are underpinned by every university with degree here at Macquarie. Okay, so what do employers want? Look, great marks aren't always enough. Employers also want well-rounded graduates. They want you to get involved on campus and have materials and resources on your resume and engagement. Experiences also help you again practice those employability skills that we just talked about in this last slide. And it's not just paid work. There are many ways to gain employable skills. We're going to now hear some more ideas from our panel. So I'll just briefly introduce the panel, and I'll hand it over to Sue to talk further. So we have Sharad Zaraza. He is a current Bachelor of Professional Accounting student. We have Akanksha Balakumar. She's graduated class of 2021 with Bachelor of Planning. And then we have Rima Chowdhury, and she is finished up with a Bachelor of Media Communications, and she just wrapped up her degree. I'll now invite the panel to come and have a seat with Sue, and I will change the camera for the those watching online as well.
Okay, welcome to our fabulous panelists who are joining us today to tell us a little bit about their experiences with the various services in employability and graduate success. So I've got a number of questions that I'll just ask of you and just do the rounds a little bit, but I'll actually start off with Sharad. So Sharad's had some engagement with the careers team in particular, but also I think with PACE as well, or about to do your PACE unit. Sharad, we know that you've completed or will soon complete an accounting degree, Bachelor of Professional Accounting. So just tell us a little bit about where you're working now and what your career aspirations are.
Sure.
Oh, sorry.
Because I think there's another mic.
Okay, there is another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. As Sue just said, I'm doing a Bachelor of Professional Accounting. Currently, working as an undergraduate accountant at WLM. It's a part-time role, soon to be full-time as a graduate accountant when I graduate, of course. In terms of my career goals, I think pretty much where I imagine myself to be at this stage of my degree in my career. About to finish my degree, got a graduate role lined up. But from here, I think I'm just waiting to start full time at my current firm, start working towards my CPA or CA. Haven't really decided on that. But eventually, when I do complete one of those, I'm thinking of sort of starting to mentor younger professionals in the industry, just helping them through their career aspirations and helping them through their whole career journey.
Thanks, Sharad, for that. Just moving on to Akanksha. If you could just, I know that you've recently graduated, but just tell us a little bit about what role you're in and where you're working at this point in time, and hopefully where your degree will take you.
So I'm Akanksha. I work at WSP as a graduate transport planner. I studied my bachelor's of urban planning at Macquarie, but I always knew I had a passion for active and public transport, so that's what sort of got me into transport planning. It was such a new field to me. I was like, oh, there's something like this that exists. It's not just residential and houses everywhere. So I was interning at WSP last year while I was studying because I applied for the graduate role, which I got. But then I was like, oh, I have 6 months. Can I work? And it luckily aligned itself with my PACE unit, which was a work internship program. So I think, which I guess in a way it worked out because I got the internship, but I also used it to my advantage with the PACE component, where it was a work experience and where you come back and reflect on your experiences and you have the support of your teacher and your student cohort. So yeah, that's been my journey so far.
Thanks so much, Akanksha. And we'll pass on to Rima now. Rima, you've just finished your degree at the end of July, and which is exciting. Just tell us a little bit about where you hope to use your degree and what your career journey may look like.
So, hi, I'm Rima, and I just finished with Bachelor of Media and Communications. So, starting off in my second semester, I started working with Star Observer, which was an LGBT news publication, and I really enjoy writing for them. And I pretty much knew all along that I really wanted to work in the journalism area, start off with print media and then eventually maybe shift to broadcast media. That's what I'm doing as well right now. So right now I'm interning at Alternate Media City Hub, and the editors it's the same team of editors who lead Star Observer as well. So currently I'm maybe aiming to be an editor there. And if not, then maybe work with one of the print companies.
Wow, that's exciting. Thanks so much, Rima. We might stick with you since you've got the microphone. So the first question that I'll pose to you is, in terms of the internship you've done or did do as your PACE unit, you completed a journalism internship. What were some of the key skills you developed through this internship?
One of the key skills I would say I developed was knowing how to work in a hybrid work environment, especially since COVID hit. We have all been working in a hybrid or work from home job. So it's like knowing how to work collaboratively as part of a team, but also knowing how to work independently without somebody like sort of sitting on your neck and telling you that this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do. So it's about, for instance, you have to know social media and knowing SEO skills, but also knowing how to handle all the content by scheduled deadlines. So you have to manage all that workload while knowing that, okay, there's not somebody micromanaging you. So that's a key skill I believe I've learned.
Excellent. So prioritization of workload as well as some of the key professional skills you'll learn. It sounds like you've really taken that on board. I'll just stick with you two for a moment. You were also a student volunteer in the GLP program. Can you tell us a little bit about more about that? What was involved?
Yeah, sure. So starting off when I first walked into the campus in 2019, it was still before COVID. So around that time I joined some of the student clubs, and first club that I joined, it was philanthropy club. And that was before I found out about GLP. So I just joined it because I really wanted to do it and I thought it's interesting. And then moving on, I went on to become the events and projects manager there. It was part of the executive team. And after that, I found out that, GLP actually helps you gain points for all the stuff that you're doing on campus. And that's when I started taking it more seriously, and I wanted to sort of contribute more while also not being burnt out. So I started off with that and then moved on to other activities like being part of buddies, being a peer mentor, and also other leadership programs, hackathons, and I feel like all of them really contributed towards my resume and my skill set and made me more employable.
Absolutely. All those activities that you've been involved in certainly do build your employability skills. I will come back with another question a bit later on for you, but passing on to Chirag now. Chirag, tell us a little bit about how careers and student employment has helped you in terms of employability and finding or getting the graduate role that you've got.
I think I've used the careers and employability services a lot ever since I started back in 2020. At the start, of course, it was more of job search job search strategies and how to plan my career. What can I do currently as a student to maybe get a job in my field, or maybe just get a job in retail, police, sports, whatever. But I think recently I did go through a consultation with Sue herself for my interview preparation for my current role, because I think one of the things, one of the reasons why it was really useful was because Sue was able to give me a perspective of the employer. Because as an interviewee, I think I'm the best, but everyone thinks they're the best for the role. But from the employer's perspective, there's a lot of different things that come into play. That could be, I think for me, it was more related to visa situations as being an international student, how employers look at that, how I can tackle such questions. Maybe things like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because nobody really knows where you're going to be in 5 years, but how that impacts whether you're going to get employed or not, things like that. I think those were really useful. Besides the consultation, I think when I did get some time, I went through the modules for interview preparations. I think there's a ton of videos available online on different aspects of what sort of questions you may be asked and how you can respond to that STAR technique if that works for you, and different sorts of ways you can sort of address your issue. Okay, and yeah, so there's that. I think the consultation was rather one of the most useful ones, even if it was just 20-30 minutes, because you can just have a bit of a conversation. If you have any follow-up questions, you can just quickly ask them and get them resolved. I always had a notepad on my side, just writing or scribbling everything that the career expert told me. So I think in that way, it really helped me, of course, to land the job that I'm currently in, and even like my previous job. as a tax consultant back in like 2021.
Thanks, Shrug. And I should have prefixed that with saying that you actually were successful for the undergraduate accountant role at WLM Financial Services. So well done to that. And the other thing that I do remember from the consultation that we had was you actually came to us well before your interview date. So you had the time to prepare. You'd taken note of everything that I'd said, and well done to you. That was excellent use of the services and a good outcome to you. I'll move on to you, Akansha. So it's easy to segue the microphone in a straight line. So it's a little bit out of order here. But you completed a PACE internship in 2021 as part of your degree. And you were also awarded the Judas Sachs Highly Commendable Student Prize for Urban Planning. Can you tell the audience a little bit about what the Judas Sachs Prize is?
Yeah. So this came across my mind when I was just looking through the Macquarie portal. I'm like, oh, what's going on now that I've finished? Is there something that I can, apply for? And then I realized as a PACE student, you have opportunities to apply for various sorts of awards and get that sort of personal brand image by this sort of marketing. So there was a Judas Sachs award that I applied for, which was for any student that took part in any PACE unit where they positively contributed to any community outcome outside and within their organization. So I was like, this was a perfect opportunity for me. And I think I had massive support from my unit convener at the time, Kate Lloyd, and she was someone who endorsed my application, who gave me guidance. And obviously to apply for an award is quite intimidating initially. So she sort of, refined my answers because they were 250 words for like 5 questions. So I think that was a massive stepping stone. And then to be actually recognized for your efforts and be awarded that prize was extremely rewarding for someone like me. And to be able to showcase that the work that I'm doing at university and my organization was, I think it went hand in hand, and I feel very proud of myself.
Absolutely. For those who don't know, if you do complete an undergraduate PACE unit, the annual Judas Sachs, the Judas Sachs awards are actually held annually. So it's something that you should consider putting your hand up for. It could be individually or as part of a team or a group. So again, to be highly commended is excellent. So just keep that in mind for all of you who may or who will be doing a PACE unit usually in their final year. Sticking with you, Akansha, tell us a little bit about what was involved in the selection process for the internship that you did.
So I'm sure, as a lot of you know, with any interview process, especially graduate roles, you have 4 rigorous rounds of interviews that you go through, whether it's scanning your CV, having a video interview, a psychometric test, and even having the one-on-one. For my situation was a bit different because I got the graduate role, so I had to go through all of these stages. But I know for internships, you just have the one-on-one interview. And I think for students that are looking for opportunities, your best source of option is LinkedIn to actually reach out to people and be like, look, I'm a student, I want to apply. Are there any opportunities? And companies are willing to take people on, like how it happened for me. They were ready. There's always opportunities and they're always looking for new skills. And especially if you're someone who's passionate about the role you want to apply for and what you're studying, I think that's key to any position that you can get. So for the biggest takeaway that I have from my interview process was they sort of asked me questions about my project experiences at uni, which is quite essential, what my extracurriculars were, and obviously why I want to join that particular company. And overall, I think be outspoken about what you want, because I was quite outspoken saying that, look, I have the time, I want to intern, is there an opportunity? And that paid off. So I think these are the few things that you need to keep in mind when you're applying for roles, and yeah, you'll be successful, I'm sure.
Thanks, Akansha. And the other thing that I'd like to say about that is don't leave it to the last minute when you're doing your PACE unit to actually put your hand up and say, I'd like to apply for such and such an internship, because most people are on the ball and applying early, and you may not necessarily get the internship with an organisation that you want. So that's something to keep in mind as well. I'll move on to Rima now and ask a few questions of Rima. I'm going to talk about focus on the GLP program again. So you were a student volunteer in the GLP program. Tell us about some of the activities you were involved in.
So at GLP, I was involved in a number of activities, but the one which like comes to mind right now, which I think is really relevant, would be buddies and being a peer mentor. Because when I joined buddies at that time, I pretty much I was still starting out. I was still new at the university. I didn't know a lot of people, and that gave me the opportunity to network with a lot of people and just find out more opportunities, like what's going on campus, like how can I apply to more roles, are you working on campus, things like that. So that was a stepping stone for me. And then moving on, I also did a couple of other activities like hackathons and youth leadership programs with ISAC. And that also helped because now I can show my resume that yes, I have done a couple of leadership programs and this is what I've got out of it. And I also gained points through that. So that's something that I really helped.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Rena. Please, if you don't mind, can you please give some examples of how GLP helped you develop your employability skills?
Yeah, sure. The thing is, a lot of employers look for leadership skills when you're applying for roles. They want to know that, yeah, you're somebody who can take this challenge on board, and they want to know that, yeah, you're somebody who can lead the team as well. So one of them, like these activities, the ones that I did mention right now, they were ones where I was able to show that, yes, I am a leader and I can sort of lead the team when I need to. Even when you're applying for small scale jobs like Company Jacks or something, they want to know how do you take on challenges or how do you act as part of a team. So this is something that definitely acts on and helps you gain skills. And even activities like colloquium, which I when I started out and I was this is not something that's relevant to me. But then when I actually did those programs, and it's like a 2-hour session, and then at the end of the program, you don't come out empty-handed. You actually learn something, and you can say that on your resume as well, that from GLP, this is what I learned, and yeah.
Thanks, Rena. So definitely these are great examples of how any of these activities that you're involved with by the program or other activities on campus have really helped build your skills and helped you just, I guess, in the application and selection process of the jobs that you've applied to. So thanks so much for that. Chirag, I'll move on to you. What advice would you give to students and recent graduates about using the Careers and Student Employment Services to get career ready and obviously enhance your employability outcomes? We've heard some of it. If you could expand, that would be great.
I think in terms of how to use the careers and employability services, it's just to just be aware that it exists, first of all. And because I think many people know that such a service exists, but they feel that it'll take a lot of effort to shoot an email or get an appointment or things like that. But if you think that, okay, I really don't have time to, let's say, get on a one-on-one consultation or maybe attend an event which is at a very specific time, I think there's still a lot of resources available on the website. You can even see recordings. I think this one's recorded as well, so you can always go for recordings for events and workshops that are relevant to you. You can always go through the job hunt strategies, and there's a lot of articles and videos on job hunt strategies, there's interview preparations, specific things like job searching and researching a particular organization, how to conduct that research. And let's say if you got a job, things like how to prepare yourself for the first day. So there's very specific articles available for where you are in your career journey. So I think just be aware and realize that there are things and support available when you need them. And I think I can obviously expand on things that I use. I think I use the one-on-one consultation mostly because I just like talking to someone because I'm a lazy reader to start with. I think that's one of the better reasons. But I think that was one of the most useful because you get a person to talk to you about your issues in your career journey. You can always have follow-up questions, as I said before, because not everything can be answered in one video. You can have a very specific question to your current scenario. I might again stress, for me, I think one of the major things that I couldn't really get an answer to online or maybe through online articles on other websites or at the Careers and Services website was things related to my visa and how things are for international students, how employers look at that, how I can sort of still be able to get employed even if I'm on a visa, maybe eventually I'll apply for a different visa and so on. So there are very specific circumstances everyone's going through, even domestic students, they might have very specific things and specific questions. So that's why I really like, I'm a champion for one-on-one consultation in that regard.
Thanks, Chirag. And definitely, as has been pointed out before, your time here at university, you've got 3 to 4 years here or maybe more, and you really need to start to think about focusing on your career, what it's going to look like when after you graduate, and not to leave things to the last minute because you're probably not going to be as well prepared to be interviewed as an example or to apply for jobs. So we're obviously a great resource here for students to tap into at any point in time during your time here at university. Thank you, Chirag. I'll move on to okay. So Akansha, focusing on your experience, going back to your PACE experience again, can you please tell us some of the key skills that you developed throughout your internship and how this has enhanced your employability?
This is going to be a long one. I have to apologize in advance. I think having the PACE unit while I was working was a massive support in my career because I felt that while I was going through every stage while starting my internship, I had someone to rely back on. Because when you start your career, you don't know what you're meant to be doing with an employer's expectations or, what your technical writing. That's a big skill that I'll say is from academic writing to technical writing was a big jump that I had to go through. So for example, I think one of the key skills, technical writing as a planner, you need to be able to engage people vocally and by written sources. So I felt that I had PACE to come back to and ask my unit convener and my student cohort and be like, look, this is what I'm going through. Are you going through the same thing? What can I do? And everyone had different experiences, which was so amazing to look at and be like, okay, this is what I can go through and I'm not the only one. Communication, again, professionally engaging and networking, such a big factor in my career at least. And I think everyone as an intern or graduate will go through this. Being able to communicate within your team and outside is so important because if you're with a consultancy and being able to win work is an essential part of your career. And I think with my PACE unit and also my degree as a whole, we've been thrown into the deep end with our presentations and even being able to engage with local stakeholders on our project. And I think that's been a key area of development for me. And thirdly, I think networking again, because with clients, I think it's quite important for you to understand who's who. And, if you want to grow in your career, you need to know who to reach out to and how you can win work for your organization. And I think that essentially leads to helping out with client and business development. And again, with PACE, I was able to reach out and ask what are client expectations? How can I, go through these opportunities? And I feel like it's been a backbone. So I don't think I could have done anything better without the support of PACE, and I would encourage you to take on any PACE opportunity you could.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Akansha. So I'm going to just wrap up with some final questions to all of you. So in terms, I know that I stalked your LinkedIn profiles, which are very impressive, I have to say. You are all involved in extracurricular activities on campus or in the community. So since you've got the microphone, Akansha, I'll start with you. If you could just tell us about some of the activities you're currently involved or you were involved with because you have now graduated. How has your involvement in these activities helped you become more employable and helped with your professional skills as well? You've kind of alluded to it. But
Yeah, sure. So with planning, it was a relatively new course at Macquarie. So I think it was 3 or 4 years when I started. So there was not much for us where we had like a student group or anything to get involved with. But I think I was fortunate enough in the final year of my degree to have a Bachelor's of Planning student panel where we were sort of encouraging and engaging future students to apply and take up planning as a degree, because I think it's so important if you care about cities and how you want to make our cities more resilient for the future. So we had an audience of about 40 people online because at that time we had COVID. So a few of us who were working had the opportunity to speak up and be like, look, this is the opportunity, something similar to this panel. And I think it was quite informing for the students, because to have someone the same age as you go through the same experiences and be able to elaborate on their experiences, I think that was a key takeaway for them. And I think it was also quite rewarding for us, because we would have wanted something like this when we were in uni, but I think at least we had the opportunity to give that to someone else.
Excellent advice. Any other parting advice for students undertaking PACE? You've mentioned a lot, but anything additional?
I think get involved, be quite outspoken. Again, if you're a bit shy, I think break that bias or whatever that barrier that you have. I mean, I know a lot of people go through different phases in their life, but I think wherever you're from, just make sure that you want to stand out, do as much as you can, take any opportunity you can. PACE has a lot to offer. And I think with the awards as well, just apply. You can win. There's so many opportunities. So I think build your personal brand. And I think that's the first gateway that you have from uni at least.
Thanks so much, Akansha. Moving on to Sharad, I'll ask you, tell us about some of the activities that you may be currently involved in. I know it's your final year, but that you've been involved in and how this helped you build your professional and employability skills.
I think I've been involved in a lot of things. I wouldn't say I'm involved in heaps of activities currently, because I'm in my final STEM now. So sort of pulled out of different student societies, but currently I'm working as a secretary at the Business Society. That's an executive role. I'm also involved in the GLP. I'm about to finish it, just have to attend a couple more sessions. And previously I was involved in 3 other societies, namely UNIT, NACTIS, and the Accounting Society, and part of the Young Leaders Program. But I think all of these activities, especially the student societies, they sort of give you an environment where you're working in a firm, because you're working with people, you're working towards one goal. It can be anything, organizing one event, or maybe organizing one workshop for your audience, while also not burdening you with such a lot of work commitments that you can't handle your studies. So I think student societies are a really good source of developing your employability skills. Now, by employability skills, specifically what I mean is, I think working with people, because you do have to, let's say, have fortnightly meetings, work on certain things within your own team. Let's say you're in the events team, and then you have to work on a certain event with people, maybe divide your tasks into different small tasks, or maybe delegating different tasks to different people. If you're in a sort of leadership role, maybe you're a director or something like that. So I think that was really useful. It also gives you an opportunity to sort of let employers know if you've developed something important, like for instance, as a secretary, the Business Society never had some sort of a newsletter. So I helped them sort of have this monthly newsletter so that the audience or our members could know what's coming up for the coming month, or what happened in the past month, and things like that. So I started that, and I didn't exactly put that on my resume as such, but when asked what you did, what special you did in that particular student society when you were working there for, let's say, 1.5 to 2 years, I have something that I did that actually made a difference. I think that's really useful. But for that as well, just being part of a student society wouldn't eventually lead to that. You do have to still be proactive, be willing to contribute, and maybe contribute and have some sort of personal initiative. You can't just be doing what you're assigned to do. I think that's really useful, personal initiative. Other than that, one of the things that I find really amusing is the GLP program. Reason is that besides the good things that I can attribute to it, I think it has this experiential credit sort of part of it, where you do certain things and you get points. It's rather satisfying for me to have that little progress bar get to the end. Oh, it's now at the end. So I think that was one of the reasons, besides, of course, my desire to be employable and develop certain skills, maybe learn a lot through the career. I think that point system is really something that sort of drove me when I was not exactly motivated to go to a workshop or something like that. So I think that in that regard, I would recommend the GLP program as well, besides, of course, student societies. The Young Leaders Program, I was part of it because I'm in the merit list as well. So it's sort of like an exclusive thing. In that, it was a really good opportunity to sort of network with, I think the one person I actually remember properly was Shane Oliver. He works at the MP Capital, and it's a really good opportunity to sort of network with people. But there was Anthony Mattis from CNZ as an accountant. I was like, okay, I really want to talk to him, get in touch with him. And if you're part of such programs, it's really easy to get in touch with them. And once you get to know them, I even sort of sought advice from him from time to time about my job, my career, my CA aspirations, and things like that. So yeah.
Thanks, Rod. Any final words of advice about engaging with recent student employment?
I would say there's no magic recipe for getting a job. Don't sort of idolize anyone. Let's say if I'm sitting here, don't idolize me because I have a job and maybe you don't. Just start applying for jobs, use the services that you have. Once you get in touch with the career and services team, even just one member, you'll just have, you'll get to know this sort of resources that are available to you. Just get one consultation, 20-minute consultation, you'll know what sort of, I think we're going to talk about that as well now. So yeah, so you just got to start. I know sometimes the first step is, I think, the most difficult one. It just feels that, but it's really difficult to think that you can't have 20 minutes of your day attributed to you getting a job or just being more employable. So I think, yeah, my parting advice would be just start. Sometimes it's just getting back to the basic hustle. Just start doing something, apply for 100 jobs, get rejected in 50, get an interview with 20, still get rejected. Come back for advice to the career and services team, and then apply for more. Eventually, you'll get somewhere. Everybody gets somewhere, I think.
Absolutely. And the career service is also here to help students at different points of their journey. And because your LinkedIn profiles are so good, I'm guessing that perhaps you might have come to our LinkedIn Essentials workshop or professional branding, because they've captured everything about all the activities that you've done on campus and within your communities. And I thought that they were quite impressive. And any employer who takes the time to have a look at your LinkedIn profiles, aside from your applications, if you're applying to jobs, should be quite impressed as well. We'll move on to, I'll ask Rena, if you don't mind passing the microphone up, about any final words of advice you'd give to students about participating in the GLP program.
Yeah, sure. One thing I've noticed a lot of students struggle with, especially international students, is that when they start off with any small scale job, like say working at Woolies, Coles, Hungry Jack's, whatever. And then they sort of start to prioritize that over like working in extracurricular activities at uni, because if I'm not earning, why should I work, right? And then this was a conflict I faced myself, and I had seen a lot of my friends face as well, because would you rather work to pay off your tuition fees, or would you work to gain employability skills? And a lot of times it comes down to priorities as well. And one thing is that even if you can set aside like 5 hours or something a day, and if you can work on an activity you genuinely enjoy, or maybe just start off and see if you enjoy, that's something I would recommend instead of worrying about the financial aspect of it, at least in your initial days.
Thanks so much, Raymond. And Akansha, you probably, well, I think you've actually already given some advice about students getting involved in PACE. Any final words? If not, that's fine. Any final words to students who are about to undertake a PACE internship or experience?
I think with PACE, be as proactive as you can applying for PACE and looking for opportunities, whether it's like practical coursework or just a work experience component. I also think engage with your student cohort, because the people you're working with are your future professional counterparts. So I meet them all the time, and I'm so glad that I actually have a friendship with them, because otherwise it'd be so awkward. So I think make sure that you have these people by your side, and just build your professional network. Go with them, see who they're connected with, reach out to those people. And I think to start off with, make sure you're as proactive as you can on social media like LinkedIn with your professional brand. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Rena. And a big thank you to all of the panelists. You've really highlighted some aspects of how you've gained experience and employability skills through the activities you've been part of, whether it's PACE, GLP, or engaging with careers and student employment. So again, a big thank you to all of you for attending today. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Just before you we just had a question come through on Zoom, so I may borrow. So, Rima, this question was for you specifically, but feel free anyone else to chime in. Jerry wanted to know, how did you use SMART goals, which essentially are short-term, immediate, practical planning goals within your immediate internship?
Yeah. Right, so can you elaborate on the SMART goals? Like,
Sure. So it's an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, related, and timely. But in summation, it's really just goals that are specific and measurable to what you're doing currently. So short-term goal setting, basically.
Okay, so we had to do a SMART goal at the beginning of our internship. So we had to specify what exactly we want to achieve by the end of it. So for example, if you're doing like political stories, for me, I was more interested in political stories versus entertainment stories. So I aim to do 20 stories by the end of the semester and to maximum 2 each week. So that was the SMART goal I set for myself. And in the process, I also like gained communication skills and learn how to talk to politicians, especially people who don't really have the time to talk, you know. And yeah, that was something I did at the start of the semester, sitting down with my base counselor, who was Rachel. So she helped me out with that.
Thanks so much.
Great. Do we want to take any questions from students here? We've got some time. Any students here have any questions for our panel?
I'll ask a question. Can I ask, Akansha, where did you find the job that you've got? Was it your internship that led to that, or have you looked more widely for employment?
I think personally for me, I wanted a job as quickly as I could, start. So from the first year of my career, I constantly was looking, but just like Chirag and Rima, I'm an international student as well, and was an international student, but I went through all of the visa conditions and all of those issues. So it was a bit hard for me to find a job because we are restricted. But I think I didn't let that stop me, because there are a lot of employers out here who they're quite inclusive. They don't sort of restrict you based on wherever you're from, whatever your visa conditions are. So for my roles, I did work at a private consultancy as a residential planner, and I did not like it. It was so boring for me, because I was just like, okay. But then I realized, okay, I want to find someone that's an MNC or multinational company that could give me the opportunities that I'm looking for, because with my degree, I sort of found my passion in transport. So I looked at company-specific places like Oricon, ACOM, WSP, a couple of others, and I sort of got to a stage, I think because I was quite proactive and I reached out on LinkedIn. I'm like, look, I want to meet you. Do you want to get a coffee? I went to all of the other education events where you meet all of these people. And I had the opportunity to meet a few people at Oricon and then ACOM. And then when I was finally reaching the final stage of my university degree, I reached a point where I was applying for graduate roles. And I think with these 3 companies were the only ones that sort of said, okay, do you want to come for an interview? So I think I got the graduate program, but then I was like, I want the 6 months. I don't want to waste my time. It aligned itself with my pace opportunities. So I was like, okay. And they were more than happy to, facilitate a student into their organization. It's only 3 days, so it's not going to be a big hassle on them. So yeah, that was my experience.
For a few.
Well, I think most of my job search was on LinkedIn. It was actually all of it was, especially the ones that I actually got responses from. Seek and Indeed, I'm not too sure if that worked for me. It actually really depends on which industry you're working on. I think accounting roles and finance roles, you can find a ton of them on LinkedIn. Almost all companies have at least one job ad on LinkedIn if they have others on Seek Indeed. There's a lot of them on Career Hub as well. I got my first sort of relevant job from Career Hub itself. And so I just applied through that. The best thing about applying through Career Hub is that you send your application not directly to the employer, but to the students and employability team first. They go through it, see if there's anything that needs to be tweaked, or maybe there's something that can be better. And then eventually they send it through to the employer. I think there's a better chance of getting a response when you're applying through Career Hub, because you can always ask for feedback, but you should always ask for feedback regardless of where you're applying through. But for me, LinkedIn, a job search worked much better.
Personally, for me, I would say Career Hub worked a lot, because starting out, I used to look at opportunities there. And it was like also starting out, you don't really have a lot of experience, right? So you want to look for jobs that don't ask for a lot of experience. So because of that, Career Hub was a good place for me to start off. And in fact, I found my first job like on campus. That was via Career Hub. So I became student ambassador. And after that, I also worked as an alumni assistant at Macquarie Park. So those were some campus jobs that I did. And then off campus as well, the Star Observer job that I'm mentioning, I started off in 2020 and I'm still working for them. So that's one thing I found via Career Hub, but I didn't have to send the resume to the career team. Like I went to them directly. And yeah, I think Career Hub works like really well for me. And besides that, LinkedIn also works because I apply for a lot of jobs on LinkedIn and get to specifically speak to the employers. Seek works, but Indeed, I'm not so sure.
Can I just want to really acknowledge that everyone here today has shared absolute messages of gold. Okay, LinkedIn and networking and using it to research and organise yourself before an interview, but to show that you know the organisation. You'll have experiences along the way that don't meet your career goals. That's equally valuable to know what you don't want to do and to take those steps to hone it in. Being involved, I don't think I've heard many people doing more student groups and societies and things, but you're right, it's actively being involved. And using those things then to show a point of difference. I like the fact how much you've used the career service, but I like even more that you were very prepared when you came. Okay, there's nothing more frustrating for us than a student who hasn't even taken the initiative to look at the available resources before they come, because then you're not going to get the most out of your appointment. So congratulations on that. And setting yourself up with goals for your internship is absolutely key. Okay, that's being purposeful in what you do and being able to seek feedback along the way, look at those skills, speaking to politicians and setting yourself and actively working towards that. So I just want to say congratulations to you all, and Sue has a very small token of appreciation from us. But congratulations on where you're at, and thank you for sharing so much insight for people today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Cal. You're free to have a seat if you want to do that. Thanks so much for your time. However, for those watching, we're just going to switch the camera. There we are. So thank you again. See if you like that.
Oh.
Okay, that's okay. That's right. And thank you to those watching virtually. I think that everyone had their question addressed virtually. Great. So I just want to talk briefly about the team we've been talking about today, the Employability and Graduate Success Team. So just going through briefly our makeup, basically. So Careers, which is helping to organize the Employable You series, we provide information and resources to students via Employability Connect, which is the website you use to register for today's presentation. We also have modules on Employability Skills development, workshops such as this one, which are both going to be held in person as well as virtually, and other programs such as the Professional Development Program and the Skills Development Program. We also have Shiraz very well plugged individual presentation or individual consults as well for you. That's both right now virtually. We hope to introduce an in-person option a bit later on. The Student Employment Service, which was also touched on, is an in-house team of expert recruiters who post paid positions for jobs on and off campus. This is available to current students as well as recent graduates. And the real benefit is that once you join the Job Ready Club, you can also get feedback if you're not successful for a job you go for from the employer. So that way you get to learn about what you should improve upon and what what you should work on for next time. So I was going to switch my slides back. PACE is work integrated learning, your internship or course credit part of your degree. Every undergraduate degree at Macquarie has a PACE unit. To find out more about PACE, you can always log into Employability Connect and just click on the PACE tab. And then finally, the Global Leadership Program is a self-paced program that complements your academic learnings by giving you more of a global mindset and experience, whether it be through guest speakers, volunteering, some internships, conferences, and other study tours, other exposures to really broaden your degree experience, as well as to broaden your own mindset, to see where your degree can apply beyond just the academic side. It's also a great benefit because it gives you a framework, or as Sharad mentioned, a checklist of different activities to get involved in while you're at Macquarie to improve employability skills through a host of different providers, whether it's careers, whether it's a GLP program, whether it's something that faculty does, or buddy program, et cetera. So just a bit more on the NQ Employment Service. Getting a job, we understand, can be a job in itself many times. Getting interviews and being interviewed can often be intimidating and a bit scary. So let's help you through the Employability Connect Job Ready Club link here. You see the scan on your screen. You can scan that in and be taken directly to Employability Connect and the Job Ready Club that the Student Employment Service oversees. Once you're in the Job Ready Club, it gives you access to be notified through a newsletter. Different jobs are offered, whether it be part-time or full-time, again, based in and all around Macquarie University, as well as Greater Sydney. Other resources on Employability Connect, we have our events page here. You can see on the screen here, 63 events are just in our sort of general listing. If you click on Employable You, which is the second option on the browse events, you'll see all the events tied to just Employable You. We also have resources and activities. So these are our fact sheets, our sort of self-help guides, our activities. So things that you can do on your own to really expand your employability and to get experience, try something cool, try a hackathon, try a case study exercise with an employee you've got your eye on, and really get experience, hands-on experience that you can sign up for and do yourself, as well as other activities that we have on offer. There's also the Into Career Zone, which is a great app that you can download right to your phone. You can also use a desktop version. And what it is it's a careers library. It covers everything from interviews to resume writing to job search. And as you can see here, hunting for jobs. It even has a database of employers who give informational interviews. So if you're wondering, what is it like to be an accountant, or what is actually a data analyst do? There are videos there that from actual employers that help answer that question. And pretty short ones you can watch, maybe on the train ride or on your way home somewhere. So this is some other events we have coming up. Sorry, just skipping the first one. There's been a change there. We've got an Employability Skills workshop coming up this Wednesday in the same room in the afternoon from 4 to 5. Every week we also have pop-up stall in the Central Courtyard, Tuesday and Thursday from 12 to 2. And of course, all the sessions that we record in this room or elsewhere will be available online as well. In case you missed something, want to go back and review something. You can scan that QR code and that will take you directly to our Employable You listing. So speaking of the pop-up stalls, we do have some great giveaways. You can check in via QR code to enter a weekly draw for a $50 voucher. There's also weekly prizes for attendance to any Employable You event or series. You can be into a weekly draw for that. And at the end, there's a major prize draw of $250 if you attend at least one Employable You series event or activity for 3 or more weeks. You get into that grand prize draw as well. So come see us Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12 to 2 at the Central Courtyard. Finally, we've got our social media. We're on Facebook, Macquarie Employability Connect. We're also on LinkedIn, the Macquarie University Careers and Student Employment Service. You can review, search, or scan the QR code, review or search on your own to find us. And then finally, that's the end of today's presentation, finishing right up at 1 o'clock. Thank you to the students that are here in person. Thank you to the ones that joined virtually. I hope you found this presentation beneficial. Thank you again to our panelists as well. Hope to see you again real soon with the rest of Employable You. Take care. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that's
Thank you so
really-
much.
Thank you so much. And your interest in both reflection about face the interview.
I think it's safe.
Oh, that's not thank you. Yes. Thank you. No, I really appreciate it. We'll let you go. Lovely to meet you too, and thank you so much.
On campus.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you so much, really, very cool.
It's
So,
super quick.
are you fine?